हाय प्रीता जी, कैसे हैं?
Hi, sorry, I got a little,
नो प्रॉब्लम एट ऑल. So
yeah,
you're sitting at your home in Gurgaon.
yes, yes.
Like luckily I just came out for a holiday after a long time to Bhimtal. So hope the connection is good. And
I hope
for
my connection is also good because Airtel is Airtel. It can go anytime.
no, Airtel is a good company. Should not be a
Yeah.
issue at all. So like we have heard so much about it, and I think would you primarily call yourself a food historian? Will that be a correct description to call you?
When people call me a food historian, I would like to call myself a researcher
Okay.
and a cuisine digger and someone who wants to document,
Hmm. Okay.
put together stuff that we are forgetting.
Hmm.
We are forgetting because most of us have moved away from our own homes,
Hmm.
home states, own regions, and we are a floating migrant population all over. So
Hmm.
each region has its own style of food, which is getting lost because of this.
Hmm.
And I
I know.
don't get half news.
I know. Just one second. I know you don't like to call it forgotten recipes, but I think because I think you say that some people somewhere are cooking it quite
No,
well.
no, I don't like to call it lost recipes, not
Okay,
forgotten.
okay.
People keep on saying lost recipes. Lost from where? From whom?
Hmm, hmm,
It's only us urbanites who think that it is only our food that is there. No, there
hmm,
is a vast region out there with communities in every corner who are
hmm,
still cooking those foods, except we have no connect with them anymore. We are
hmm,
away in metros. We are away in metros, away from our states. And
hmm.
therefore, we grow up not knowing about these things, and then we think they are lost. They are not lost. Someone somewhere is making it.
So that's a very interesting top, I think, way. So you're saying you, instead of food historian, you're a food researcher and also looking for recipes and dishes which were there, and maybe we are not cooking them anymore
They
because
are
we
fading from living memory.
they're fading from living memory. So I think that's a good deal. So if I can start from, of course, like I think I have done some research on you. You were a journalist. You've been working in microfinance and developmental economy, and then I think over a period of time you would move more towards food, which is like good luck to all of us. But let me start with Bengal, right? I think 8th, 9th century Bengal was Pala kingdom, Buddhist, right? That's where if we can start the history. So the Bengal food has Buddhism, and then the Khiljis, the Mongols, the Mughals came, the Portuguese came, the French came, the Danish came,
Hinduism, Vaishnavism,
Hinduism, Vaishnavism,
Christianity.
Bhakti movement, and then the British, like in it, they were the first to come to Calcutta because Calcutta and West Bengal, East Bengal was the
Yes.
wealthiest parts of India, right? From where all the trade happened, like Chittagong port and all that, right? So there's a lot of amalgamation of cuisines, food, history here. So if you can tell us, of course, in the Pala kingdom, I think said there's a Palano, right, which is rice and meat.
Polanno, which means
Palano.
Polanno is not only because of any Pala kingdom. It Polanno means pulao, meat
Okay.
and rice cooked together.
Meat and rice cooked together. So, how was the food during Pala Kingdom, Buddhism, and when the Hindus, Hindu kingdom came in 12th century, and then of course the Khiljis and the Mughals? How did the food history change? If you can take us a little bit from 8th century Pala to Hindu kingdom, if you can, and how the influences changed, it'll be very informative for the viewers.
Yeah, so the thing is that Bengal draws its roots to the Bengali people, to
Hmm.
tribal roots.
Tribal
You
roots,
see, tribal roots.
not
We
Aryan,
have
not Aryans and
No, we
Dravidians.
have very little Aryan blood in us. It
Hmm.
is mainly the Proto-Australoid. This is the
Proto.
ethnic group said to
Hmm.
be the oldest, among the oldest in India.
Hmm.
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 So they were over central India and into eastern India. What is
Hmm.
the Bengal region? What used to be the Bengal region? Huh?
Hmm.
And the Bengal region was a shifting territory, as you know, in ancient times. There were small, small kingdoms. Then one king rose, took over certain territory. Then again, another king rose, took over more territory. The capital shifted. Hmm.
Hmm.
So it was a kind of a shifting territory. It was tribal kingdoms at that point in time till in the 8th century. The
Hmm.
Pala dynasty set up foundations, and for 400 years of peaceful rule, the
Hmm.
Bengali people were born
Okay.
with literature, with script, with language,
So we can say it was
spoken
a golden
spoken
time.
Bengali.
So during
Pardon?
Pala, the Bengalis got their identity, their culture. It was a golden.
Identity. Yes, and that's where it all started. That's where it
Hmm.
all started. And because of this 400 years of this Buddhist rule, we did not have much casteism.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
did not have much casteism. We did not really have Brahmins in the region, in
Hmm.
Bengal. It was
Hmm.
only when the Pala rule gave way to the Sena dynasty, which was Hindu, the
Hmm.
Sens,
Right.
the Sen dynasty, which were Hindus, Brahminical Hindus, that Brahminical Hinduism, got into Bengal, and more so it coincided also with the Muslim invasions of the 12th century.
12th
The
century.
Khiljis and the Turks,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
Afghans. You've heard
Hmm.
of Sheikh Shah Suri and all that. They
Right.
came much later.
But
But the Turks and the Khiljis, the Tughlaq Khilji, the Sultanate, the Delhi
Sultan.
Sultanate, those invasions started happening.
But the
So
undivided, I can ask, was from Assam.
undivided Bengal.
It was from Assam to Burma to even Singapore and Malaysia, even that far, right?
That was under British rule.
Under
That
British
was
rule.
under British rule.
Okay.
But during these times, it went up to North Bengal, the borders of Assam, sometimes into Assam, like I said, shifting territories, and sometimes into Orissa. It
Hmm.
included Bihar, it
Hmm.
included East Bengal, West Bengal.
Hmm. It is.
So, till the Middle Ages, till medieval times. So, when
Hmm.
the Muslim invasion started, Hinduism became more conservative,
More conservative. And the
orthodox and conservative,
movement started.
closed doors. Yeah.
Oh.
And that's when one of the invited 12 Brahmins from Kannauj to come and settle in Bengal. So they say that that's from where the Brahminism started coming in. Aryan blood came in. It is only in the minuscule percentage of the Brahmin population in Bengal that you have Aryan blood. Otherwise, we are all proto-Australoid.
Okay. And also,
So our food habits
yes,
are also
yes,
drawn from them.
yes. So in Pala Kingdom, was there a lot of meat and a lot of different exotic things? It was only when
Huh.
the Bengal turned Orthodox, that vegetarianism and other things started. Can you give us a glimpse of how the food changed over time?
Well, food, if you ask me, hasn't really changed over time. It has been
Okay.
added to. It has been added to.
Okay.
Bengal, the way
Okay.
that we've probably eaten for centuries, we still eat like that at home. We will eat our greens lightly steamed. We don't have much masala in our food, actual food.
Hmm.
Our
Okay.
food rests mainly on temperings and flavorings and the juices of the vegetables, the flavors
Hmm.
of the fish. That is
Hmm.
what our food is actually like. When we eat at home, it is
Hmm.
with simple tempering, we steam the vegetables.
Hmm.
We do not add heavy masalas. It
Hmm.
is only when, say, we are doing celebratory cuisine or wedding feast. We
Hmm.
have a guest at home that we started using more masalas because more masalas started coming in. With the
Okay.
Mughals, with the Europeans, spice trade exploding, more masalas started coming in. So what do
Uh,
we do when we have to show people we are affluent and we are rich? We use
mhm.
more expensive ingredients, don't we?
Uh,
We will
okay.
use expensive imported cheeses and imported meats and all that to show what a rich table we had. We have. Similar things started happening, but the base of Bengali cuisine rests on temperings and flavorings. It does
Okay.
not rest on rich masalas.
So in a way, you're saying like the dalchinis, garam masala, long might have come from Ceylon, right? And maybe
From Ceylon,
yeah, yeah,
Dalchini, cloves, these came from Ceylon. Yeah,
Ceylon
through trade, through maritime trade.
through maritime trade. Maybe the lot of fruit influences from Portugal, right? Adding pineapple and oranges to dishes,
The
right?
Portuguese brought it in because the Portuguese were all over. They were in South America. They were, they were
Right,
moving around and they were collecting things.
right.
So they picked up these exotic fruits and all of, and they took it all over the world. Similarly, because the Portuguese were in Bengal for 200 years, and there
Hmm.
was trade also, they brought in these fruits.
Hmm. And what about the Mughals? What do you think the influences Mughals came brought to, like, now today it is known like Lucknow, Calcutta is also known for a bit of Nizami cuisine, Murshidabad, of these Nizam's cuisine.
Lucknowi cuisine, well, I would put Lucknowi cuisine in a different genre,
Hmm.
which came in absolutely late 19th century when Wajid Ali Shah
Wajid Ali
was
Shah,
exiled and he came, but that is only Calcutta. But the
only Calcutta.
Mughal influence, because
Hmm.
the seat of the Mughals at one time were Dhaka,
Hmm.
from
Right.
where they ruled all of Bengal,
Hmm.
undivided Bengal. Then from there they moved to Murshidabad. Murshidabad became the seat, and from there they ruled all over that region.
Hmm.
Bihar, Bengal, Orissa, right up to Assam.
Hmm.
They couldn't get into Assam, but right up to the borders. So the
Got it.
Mughal influence was also immense. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
with the coming of the Mughals, we got all our um, flour eating habits. Wheat flour, refined flour, maida, all the different kinds of breads that the Mughals made, the
Hmm.
different parathas, different breads, all
Right.
that came in with the Mughals and became uniquely Bengali. If you see the
Uh-huh.
Bengal Bakar Khani roti,
Hmm.
it is very different from what the Bakar Khani is in Kashmir or in any other place.
So you're saying a lot of flours, be it be wheat or maida or rotis, can be attributed to Mughal. Also, do you
Because
think the
we were a rice eating people. We were
it's
a
the right
rice eating people.
rice eating? And what about kebabs? Can they also be attributed to Mughals?
The refined kebabs, yes.
Hmm.
The refined kebabs, yes. But
Hmm.
kebabs and stuff existed for a very long time. From ancient times, we have it in our literature that, kebabs made with Sikhs
Hmm.
that were very rustically roasted over the
Hmm.
fire. And those were brought in by, like I said, Chittagong was a very important port. So
Hmm.
that was brought in by the Arabs, the Persians, the Afghans who had settled in. So
Okay.
that tradition of this kind of roasted kebabs was there. What happened was with the Mughals, and Mughals changed the entire gastronomy of India,
Hmm.
with the refinement, especially during the time of Shah Jahan, it reached a peak. The
Hmm.
complete refined cuisine that came out,
Hmm.
all that, yes, definitely, one lays credit at the doors of the Mughals for that, because the Dhaka Nawabs were very, very refined people, and from Dhaka they moved to Murshidabad. So, that tradition came in with the Mughals definitely.
Very, very interesting. And also, I think the Malay curry, which is there, is it from the Malay influence? The Malay curry, which is known in Bengal?
Well, folklore has it. Some food historians, some anthropologists do say that the term Malay, because we don't call,
Hmm.
our coconut milk or any kind of cream Malay.
Hmm.
Huh?
Hmm.
So they say it could have been Malaya curry, which is from
Hmm.
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Like they say that the mean moili can also be from Malaysia.
Okay. Mean
You
moily and
understand?
okay. So a
Huh.
lot of
So
influences.
it is that technique of cooking that the fish, the prawns with, it's a very light curry, not
Hmm.
the curry that one finds now commercially rich and red and all that. The actual original curry was very light and very similar to what you get in Southeast Asia. Southeast
Also, I
Asia, they probably put in a little galangal, or
Hmm,
we will here probably put in a little lime leaves.
hmm,
But it's very, very similar.
very similar. Also, I think there's a lot of influence of mustard and kasundi in Bengal. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yes. Um, First thing I want to say is that there is a difference between mustard paste and kashundi. They are not
Okay.
interchangeable.
Okay.
People call mustard paste kashundi. I want fish with kashundi. No,
No.
that is people. It's a confusion in people's mind.
Hmm.
सरसों जो होता है, the
Hmm.
kala sarso, not the
Hmm.
rye, not that very small dana, the bigger
Hmm.
kala sarso and the pila sarso. These are the two kinds of mustard that we use.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
the kala sarso is much stronger and more pungent. The
Hmm.
yellow one is milder. So it
Hmm.
depends. If you want a mild paste, you make only that. But if you want a nice paste which is pungent, you make it with the black. So fresh mustard paste made with a pinch of salt and a little green chili, it cuts the bitterness. Mustard seeds
Hmm.
can get bitter if you
Hmm.
piso it fresh. So
Hmm.
fresh mustard paste is what we use in our cooking.
Hmm. Right.
And kashundi is when the mustard is harvested sometime in April.
Hmm.
March, end of March, beginning of April, on Akshay Tritiya, which is
Hmm.
sometime in April, I think,
Hmm.
the Kashundi making starts. It is a ritual. Kashundi, the word Kashundi actually means pickle.
Okay.
You see, it means pickle. So just like the summer months is spent with pickling all fruits, vegetables,
Hmm.
for achar,
Hmm.
the excess mustard is also pickled. It is
That's
fermented, and the pickling, with the pickling, it becomes a sauce. It is a
hmm.
pungent sauce with the pickling, huh? And that is called kashundi.
So that pickled sauce, is it used in cooking or as a relish along with the food?
It was used as a relish. It was used
Hmm.
as a relish, but
Hmm.
we would fresh fruits, thoda mustard oil, thoda kashundi, they can mix karke. It would be had as a salad.
Salad.
Then later times when we started, all this street food started with cutlets and chops and fried stuff, samosa, this, that, we would have it with like a sauce, this pungent
Hmm.
sauce. Huh.
Hmm.
It is only very recently in the last 15, 20 years that we have this new crop, the new generation who are experimenting with different things. That
Hmm.
kashundi is being used in cooking. It goes very well as for grilling meats, for grilling fish.
Okay.
थोड़ा mustard oil kashundi लगा के बिठा दो charcoal में. So it goes very well with that. But in traditional cooking, one never really cooked with kashundi because it had the chance of getting bitter. It was
Hmm.
fermented.
Hmm.
So we
I
never
got it.
really cooked with kashundi.
I came to know, I'm very fond of Japanese food, that what Japanese use as wasabi. In Bengal also there's a chui jhal, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
Which was close to
Well,
wasabi?
that's a very good thing because this is something that is almost getting lost. I have to
Lost.
swallow my words when I say I don't believe in lost, but this is something that is almost getting lost because
Hmm.
this was a creeper plant which belongs to the pepper family. Now, we
Hmm.
all know that the Portuguese brought in chili
Hmm.
to India, and
Hmm.
to, of course, to the eastern region, the Portuguese were there. And
Hmm.
so, before the chili, what happened? What did we use? We
Hmm.
used pepper.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
had pepper. We call it gol morich, which is the round
Hmm.
morich. The word morich means a fiery
Hmm.
element.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we used to use the pepper, and we
Hmm.
also use this. This used to grow mainly in South Bengal, in
Hmm.
hot, humid regions. Huh?
Hmm.
It used to grow in South Bengal. It belonged to the pepper family, but its
Hmm.
fruit was not used ever. The fruit was used for medicinal purposes, the leaves and the fruit, but not in cuisine. It was from the base of the plant. The base
Hmm.
of the plant is to be the creeper. The creeper, it could grow from a slim creeper into something that was possibly 3 feet, 4 feet wide. An
Hmm.
old plant would be 3, 4 feet wide. Huh? So
Hmm.
from the base of the creeper used to be the hottest. And slowly, as you went up, the fieriness would slowly, lessen as you went up into the twigs and the branches. Huh?
Hmm.
So that used to be cut into small pieces like sticks. And
That's a very
it would be dropped into the curry. It would lend a very nice gingery flavor.
hmm.
You only got a wasabi kick when you chewed on it. So it was up to you. You could control your, the fiery quotient when you chewed on it, and it would hit you. Otherwise, the curry would have a mild, and the flavors of the chui jhal would go in, a nice gingery lemony flavor. And sometimes it was used. It was ground into a paste
Hmm.
and it was put in. This plant is used in Southeast Asia as well.
Okay.
It's used. They use the
Very
fruit also. They use the fruit also. So it is, one seamless line up to Southeast Asia where this is used.
the
There's
food is
also another very interesting spice
hmm.
in Bengal. I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Yes,
since
of
we are
course.
talking of spices, which no
Hmm.
one else uses.
Hmm.
It's only Bengal that uses.
Girl that
It's
uses
called Radhuni.
Raguni.
In Radhuni.
Radhuni.
The Hindi name is Ajmod.
Ajmod. Okay.
It, it's used in Ayurveda and medicine, but not
Hmm.
in cooking except in Bengal,
Hmm.
little bit maybe in Burma, and
Hmm.
sometimes in Thailand. So
Hmm.
Radhuni is a spice that is used in Bengali cuisine, which is very special.
No, no, we'll take you on that. I'll come to that a bit later in some other context. But this means food is truly amalgamation of different cultures which has come to a country or a city or a region, and then people have absorbed in hundreds of years. Also, like we are biryani by kilo. We do Hyderabadi, Lucknowi, Calcutta biryanis, Nizami cuisines, kebabs, galotis, kormas, mutton curry. So, how do you see the history of biryani? Do you see from Hyderabad Nizams, from there the biryani history? How does it incorporate into Bengal, the biryanis and the galotis? Anything
See,
about
in Bengal, it was mainly pulao.
hmm.
It
Plano?
following the Mughal tradition and earlier tradition of cooking meat and rice together.
Hmm.
It was mainly light, delicate pulaus. We,
Hmm.
we still cook a lot of pulaus in Bengal.
Hmm.
It is
Okay.
only in the recent past that the
Hmm.
biryani has suddenly exploded.
Hmm.
Biryani essentially started as food of the common people. It
Hmm.
was it was not royal food. It was
Hmm.
food of the common people. It was cooked as a one dish, one pot meal which had protein and
Hmm.
carbohydrates, energy giving, nutritious, and to
Hmm.
make it tasty, masalas, a lot of masalas would be put into it. It has come full circle. So now
Hmm.
biryani again is a food that can cater to the common people, it can cater to the elite, it can cater to the middle class, it can cater to different palates. There are different genres of biryani that have come up. So
Hmm.
it has a very interesting history. But at the end of the day, it
Hmm.
it, it was uh, the pulao was the one that was the most till the kings realized that this was a very tasty dish. So it went into their kitchens and
Hmm.
it got refined. And there were
Hmm.
various techniques, there were many secret masalas, there were lots of things. Aromatics were added to it. Huh?
Hmm.
Expensive ingredients. The biryani did not start with expensive ingredients. But
It
like
was
I
a
said earlier, when you have to show your affluence, It is, you add more and more. And so therefore, things, and then every region had their own style. So
Hmm.
Hyderabadi has its own style.
Hmm.
Lucknow, people who were gourmets,
Hmm.
nobility who were gourmets, who looked closely at their food, kept on refining it and taking it to different levels. So that's what happened with the biryani. And when it came to Bengal, it uh, came to Bengal primarily with Wajid Ali Shah.
Wajid Ali Shah.
You know,
So in
there was some kind of biryani that was there in Murshidabad,
Murshidabad.
which the Mughals had left behind,
Hmm.
and but it wasn't that popular. It was
Hmm.
mainly pulao. The
Pulao.
biryani, like in Bangladesh, East Bengal,
Hmm.
now
Hmm. Hmm.
Bangladesh, the
Hmm.
biryani, and it is a Muslim majority population. So therefore, we
Right.
would think that the biryani has been there for a very long time. No,
But not.
the biryani in Bangladesh came in post 1947 with
Oh, okay.
Bihari Muslim uh, uh,
English.
people who went
Mike.
and settled there after 1947. Huh?
Hmm.
So in Bengal also, my thing is that the actual real biryani came with Wajid Ali Shah
Wajid Ali Shah.
into Calcutta, and
Calcutta.
then it spread.
So
But there
at
was not much tradition of eating biryani
hmm.
till the end of the last century, beginning of this century. I mean, not, I wouldn't say beginning of this century, till say in the 1980s or 90s, a biryani was only for a special occasion. There were only specific biryani joints.
Hmm.
Biryani was never made in our homes as such. Now
So
suddenly its popularity has,
reason.
exploded.
So in a way, we can also take some at Biryani by Kilo. What we are trying to do is we're already in 20 cities, and we are launching in Calcutta. I think next week. We already launched
Okay.
it. So
And
we
what
are
are you launching with?
okay. I'll just come to that. So what we are trying to do and we are doing is that so 5 years back, I and my co-founder Kaushik Roy, who's also Bengali, like you. I'm not a Bengali, but Kaushik Roy is a Bengali. 5 years back, we saw that biryani, mainly it is all over India, other than the regions. What was popular was mainly Hyderabadi biryani, and it was made in 10, 20, 30 kg pots and just sold throughout the day. Or, the big chains were just selling it. They were freezing it, reheating it, and selling it. We said we'll make biryani the old traditional way in the handis, and we will only dum cook it once the customer order comes, and we will deliver it in the same handi to the customer in which it is dum cooked, using the best finest ingredients, the best premium basmati rice, the best meats. We have owned central butcheries, the spices. We chose vendors from Kerala, Lucknow, Calcutta, Chandni Chowk, which were old vendors for like 50, 100 years. And but we also made SOPs and systems in a way that the same biryani in Bombay or Pune or Indore or Jalandhar or Kanpur or Delhi or Bhubaneswar and now Kolkata would come out same, freshly made, dum cooked in handis, and same for galati kebabs or kormas. So we are coming out with the whole gamut in Calcutta, like all our outlets in India. The Hyderabadi biryani, the Lucknowi biryani, the Calcutta biryani, and all the kebabs, the Nizami kebabs, but all done fresh, the kormas, fitnis, but in a delivery model. You make a delivery company, and but we do have one dine-in per city. But Calcutta, we open the dine-in bit later. Generally, it's a whole gamut. But we are doing it in a fresh way, authentic way, in the handis, eco-friendly way. So that is our USP. And hope Calcutta is a biryani place. They have a lot of love for the old joints like Arsenal, Shiraz, and so many which are known, quite well known. But I think given our gamut of different, not only Calcutta, but Hyderabadi, Lucknowi, kebabs, pinnis, I think, and in a standardized way, in a eco-friendly way, I hope we get a lot of love from Calcutta as well.
Calcutta is a big biryani lover. The
Yes, yes.
biryanis, I mean, from street side handis to, you'll get biryanis everywhere. And
Hmm.
so Calcutta is a big biryani loving city.
So Calcutta, like I have a lot of love for Calcutta food. I have been going to, Salt Lake City when I was IT entrepreneur. I've always used to go to Flurries in the morning, stay at Park Street, have a lot of coffee, have some kebabs, chelo kebabs at Peter Cat, or go to some good Bengali food at some of my friends' place. So I think the one of the best foods I think in India is even at the nooks and corners of the streets, even the small joints make such good, lovely, be it be Bengali food or the Marwadi food or the Chinese food. I think the Bengalis beat everyone to food for some reason, and I think
Yes.
maybe it's due to the rich culture.
Because of the of settlers in the region and because of Calcutta having such a rich heritage of being the first cosmopolitan city,
Hmm.
and it was therefore obviously so many influences, and like I said, Bengalis very readily embrace new food habits, they embrace and they're willing to try,
No,
but
no,
they
I think
also have very strong opinions and tastes.
I know that the hope will. So one thing I know you're going to show us a very interesting recipe of mustard chicken, right? Sarson chicken, right, today. But before that, I just wanted to know. I think you also written about now we get cookbooks in plenty. Like go to any shop or Amazon. I think when did the cook? I think you've written about cookbooks history as well. When did Park Rajeshwar and all that. So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what cookbooks of India, and when can you talk about few like now they're like Gordon Ramsays of the world and so many cookbooks. But who were the earlier cooks or who were famous or celebrated chefs or the cookbooks like Pak Rajeshwar?
Well, in Bengal, I can talk about Bengal.
Okay.
Bengal, there were the doyens of Bengali cuisine, as we call them.
Hmm.
There was Pragya Sundari Devi, who came from the Tagore family. She was Rabindranath Tagore's niece. She has
Okay.
collated more than 7,000, 8,000 recipes.
Hmm.
And they were a very progressive family. So they
Hmm.
traveled, they picked up other influences also. And the Tagore family were very interested in food, and
Hmm.
they would try out different recipes. They would try
Hmm.
out, so they set a few standards um, for what should I say, for the urbanized Bengali and
Okay.
urban Bengali food, Calcutta food. I would
Hmm.
not call all of it all the time Bengali food. It's what we call Calcutta. The cuisine of Calcutta is completely different in a sense to the cuisine of the Bengali people, what we eat
Okay.
in homes. Okay, so they set the standards for this urban, rich, aristocratic cuisine, right?
Hmm.
Then there was another lady called Renuka Devi Chaudharani. Her husband was a very senior person in the Legislative Assembly. She has also written a number of books, and we have other people also, Sadhana Mukhopadhyay, Bela De. Then we had, of course, the iconic QP Das Gupta, who wrote the book Bangla Ranna, among
Hmm.
the first books in English.
Hmm.
So we have all this, but the interesting thing is that cookbooks were being printed in Bengal from 1831 onwards.
1831 on.
Yes,
First
and
one was
from 1831, the first one was Pak Rajeshwar.
Rajeshwar.
Ah.
Yeah.
From 1831 onwards, cookbooks were being collated, compiled, and being printed in Bengal. And the reason is very interesting
Hmm.
because, yeah, the British were there, Calcutta was the capital, everything. And the Bengali Babu was hobnobbing with the British.
Hmm.
Hmm. And when he came back home, he wanted his wife to produce stuff that he went and ate there. Or when
Hmm.
he was entertaining his European friends, he wanted a table as good as theirs. So the
Hmm.
wives needed education.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
these cookbooks, and some of these cookbooks came with, how-to books of how to keep a good table, what kind of menus you can do, how to set up your kitchen,
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
to cook to win your husband's heart. So all these cookbooks had
Are
these kinds of things.
these books still available? Or do you have collection of some of these books?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
they're being
Wow.
reprinted and they're being, but some of them are still pretty rare. But I do.
So some of the viewers are asking for your mustard chicken recipe. How do you call it in Bengali? They're asking for that. I think.
Shoshe Murgi, I chose this because this can be made just like I said. Every recipe can be made 50 different ways.
Okay.
This is a very quick and easy recipe where takes barely 10 minutes if you have boiled chicken.
Okay.
And so it's basically chicken. You can do it with mutton. You can do it with pork. You just boil it with lots of onion and salt, and keep it. And then come, I will show you the rest.
Please. Looking forward. Let's
Bear
see.
with me while I move to the kitchen.
Yes, yes, please, please.
Please, just for 2 minutes.
Yes, yes, please. I am today traveling out of Gurgaon. Otherwise, I would have sent someone to pick part of that dish today.
So this is like what I call one of my cheat recipes. If you're not really feeling like cooking, or if you have a sudden guest, it barely takes any time. Okay, so I'm going to start with showing you what I have.
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah.
Have you already boiled the chicken? Have you already boiled the?
You can see. Can you see?
Yes, we can see. We can see very well.
Okay.
Have you
Okay.
already boiled the chicken?
So I have boiled the chicken about maybe 200 grams.
And did you it in an open vessel?
Yes, you can do it in a karai. You can do it in a, if you're cooking 1 kg of chicken, just put it into a pressure cooker with lots of sliced onions and salt. That's it. And after you've boiled it, reserve some of the stock. Don't keep it too watery, but reserve some of the stock and just mash the onions.
One minute.
Boiled onions. It's visible, Vishal?
Yes. So can you repeat this part you're doing?
Yeah. So after you've boiled the chicken, don't put too much water and boil it, but just enough for it to boil properly with lots of onions and salt. Sliced onion.
Sliced onion and salt. Maybe boil it for 15 minutes. 15 minutes is good enough. Almost cooked.
Yeah. It should be completely cooked.
Okay.
It should be completely cooked. Okay. And then you reserve the stock and mash the onions in nicely into the stock. Okay. Then here I have, just because it's about 200 grams of chicken, I have just about barely half a teaspoon of ginger paste and a quarter teaspoon of garlic paste.
Okay.
Then here is the main ingredient now. This is the mustard paste. I have taken.
It's the yellow mustard or the dark brown mustard? It's the yellow
This is
mustard.
the black mustard. This is the black mustard.
And you just soaked it in water and blended it?
Yes, with a little green chili and salt.
Okay.
And then I've added just a little bit of haldi and a teaspoon of mustard oil, and I've whisked it well. Okay, and I've kept it. So here you will have about 2.5 teaspoons of mustard paste.
Okay.
Here I have mustard oil.
Okay.
And here I have chopped green chilies and dhania patta and fresh coriander. If you like your food spicy, you can add green chili paste to this. If you add red chili powder, the color of the beautiful mustard will go. It will become an orangish thing. So in order to keep the color, add green chili paste. Now, shall we start the cooking? So here, I'm going to add.
This is the mustard.
Mustard oil. So
Okay.
I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of mustard oil.
Okay.
And I'm going to let it heat well. Mustard has a high smoking point.
Oh, okay.
And it's if you want to get the flavors out, it is best to heat it nicely till it smokes and then lower the heat.
Okay.
And so it's going to take a little bit of time to heat up. And about this recipe, you can add more onion, more ginger, more garlic. You can add
According, according.
roasted. You can add dhania powder. You can make your own little dish out of this. This
Okay.
is my simple, easy mustard
Easy
chicken.
chicken.
Which
Great.
is my cheat cooking, as I call it, when there's a quick dish to be made. But
So,
only if you like mustard, because this has a pungency which
no,
will
I
make
love
your cake.
it. It just reinvigorates your
Yeah,
body.
yeah.
So
So
it the
now
dish.
focus into the kadai.
Hmm.
You can see that the oil is heating up nicely now.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
You can see it started to smoke.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm now going to lower the heat
Hmm.
and the ginger garlic paste.
So, garam- no,
It's a little messy. I'll add the chicken. It's boiled and it's cooked.
hmm. Hmm.
Now I'm going to add the stock. Now we've already boiled the chicken with salt. So there is salt in the stock. So I'm
Hmm.
not going to add any
Hmm.
more
Hmm.
because I think it's enough. But
Hmm.
for all of you, if you need to taste, then taste it at this stage.
Hmm.
There is also salt in the mustard paste.
Hmm.
Done?
Yes.
Now I'm going to add my mustard paste. Here goes 1 teaspoon.
Hmm.
Here goes 2 teaspoons. You shouldn't douse it in mustard paste,
Okay.
otherwise it won't be very palatable.
Hmm.
Now raise the heat.
So it's a very easy recipe, eh?
And for die-hard mustard fans,
Hmm.
the last touch is another tablespoon or so of raw mustard oil, a drizzle from top, and the dhania,
Hmm.
and your chicken is done.
Really? Wow. This is quick. Oh, and so big sizing as well.
So
Like
does
all
this
the.
look nice? So you look at the color
Hmm.
and you look at the consistency.
Wow. Wow. I think it's such an easy dish because chicken was boiled before, and I
Yeah.
think the mustard gives.
And that's what I do. And that's
Right.
what I do. I boil the chicken, the meats. I make this with pork. I make it with mutton,
Hmm.
and I keep it in the fridge. You can make it anytime.
But like with chicken, you
You
might
take
have
it back.
just 10, 15 minutes. Mutton might require a cooker pressure boil, right? To
Pardon?
cook it. For the mutton,
Pardon?
the boiling would require much longer, right? For the
Yes, of
people,
course.
you will
Of
have to
course.
pressure cook it
Mutton
2 3 CTs.
would take longer in the pressure cooker. Anything. Chicken is the fastest and the easiest, and
Hmm.
that's why it's the easiest to bake with chicken.
No, I'm going to, because you live. No, I love it. I love it, and then people are going to love it. It's going to become quite popular because it's so fast, and I think, of course, it's visually appetizing, and I'm sure it's very, very tasty. And I also live in Gurgaon, and I think we have some common friends. So I'm going to self-invite myself for some of these dishes in Kolkata biryani at your place.
Bakshish and Rupali, feel free to drive down.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
4 pieces. You can share it amongst yourselves.
Yeah, I think if I would have driven down today. And but I'm
But
going to really self-invite myself on a good Kolkata biryani at your place one of the weekends.
tell me something. I
How?
have a question to ask you.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, when
please.
when you do biryanis in mitti ka handis,
Hmm.
for how long do you season your handis? I mean, keep them soaked and keep them, because I have tended to see when I have done it myself. A lot of the time, if it's not seasoned well, the handi absorbs all the moisture out, and the food inside becomes very dry.
No, so
So,
we are
how
very.
long do you season it?
So we do it. We first of all, every handi is cleaned in the outlet, and then soaked in water and dried for 24 hours before we do any cooking in it. So it's cleaned quite well, and it's soaked in water so that, like you rightly said, if it's too dry, it will soak away
Yeah.
all the spices. And so I think we wet it for a period of 24 hours of cleaning, wetting, and drying process before
Yeah.
that outlet cooks it. So that's very, very important. And these handis,
Yeah.
sometimes people take it, these are just handis. But a lot of research has gone into it. What kind of mitti, mud, how much opening of handi, how much thickness, how much width, and how much is the base thickness. So it's a lot of science behind it, so that every
So
biryani tastes the
I've
same.
started collecting your handis to do my own cooking. I don't
No, no,
throw away your handis.
so maybe cook the Kolkata biryani in the biryani by kilo handis only, and you can recook in them, reheat them. You can put plants in them, because they are supposed to
Yeah.
be eco-friendly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are you going to eat this sarso mustard chicken tonight for dinner, or is there any other dishes as well?
If my nephew, if Rupali and Bakshish drive down, it's gone. But otherwise, I have my nephew here who's ready to eat any kind of meat, kacha, anything that walks. He's ready to eat anything. So I have him.
No, no, I'm so happy that we got to know so much of you're such passionate person and such a intellectual, erudite person. You've done journalism, developmental economy, and now so much food research, history. So I think it'll be great. And now we know you're in Gurgaon. We'll be picking your mind and your recipes and a lot of those things. So thank you so much for coming on the Biryani by Kilo Insta Live. It's a pleasure, honor, and we wish you all the
Thank you
best
for
to you.
having me, and
Yeah.
all the best for Calcutta. Like I told you,
Yes.
Calcuttans are not an easy people. Bengalis.
No, no, I said
They're cute
lot of my closest
foodies.
so lot of my closest friends are
Pardon?
bongs. I always enjoy a lot of my closest friends are bongs. I've enjoyed my
Yeah,
discussions with them, and
yeah.
love going to Calcutta for the food, and we are ready for it. And I hope, and we wish that Calcutta gives us the same love which Bombay, Pune, Ludhiana, Jalandhar, Jaipur, Lucknow, Kanpur, of
All the
course,
best to
Delhi.
you.
Thank you so much, and wish you all the best too. And
Thank you.
I'll hope you soon. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank,
Bakshish.
yeah. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.